following program is an exclusive DisruptionNetworks.com production.
Hey, it's Adeline Van Dyke from Coldwell Banker Faith Properties in Utica. I always get asked, why do I love real estate? It's very simple. I love my clients. I love every single thing about helping them find or sell their home. Making sure the home is solid and ready for sale, or solid and ready for the buyer's inspection, to making sure that they're getting the best rate on their mortgage, making sure they're getting the best price on their house. You know, just everything involved in the sale is vital. My absolute favorite part of real estate is when a buyer walks into the house they're going to buy. I can feel it before they even know they're loving the house. It's just that obvious. So I'd love to experience that feeling with you. So give me a call. Adeline Van Dyke, Coldwell Banker Faith Properties, 315-404-6431. Or you can find me on Facebook or visit my website at centralnewyork.com/Adeline. Thank you, and I look forward to welcoming you home.
When it's your hard-earned money on the line that you are investing into a home, it makes sense to choose a proven professional to assist you in making one of the biggest investments you may ever make. Josh's dedication of over 20 years to the home construction industry allows him to bring knowledge and experience to your doorstep. That means you can feel confident and comfortable with his service to you. Past clients love his attention to detail and thorough written reports. By allowing Priceless Inspections to help you make a well-informed decision concerning your property, you will find that a quality inspection is priceless. Follow Priceless Inspections on Facebook or call 315-525-8725. In the Mohawk Valley, for the best real estate service, you gotta have faith. Coldwell Banker Faith Properties, 315-735-2222 or www.centralnyhomes.com.
It's Adeline Van Dyke here with Home Free, and we're at Disruption Networks talking with Tommy Artessa, T-Art Restoration and Painting, and we are we are going to be talking about a few things with your house tonight. Hey Tommy, how are you?
I am hanging in there. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. I really want to talk about a few of these things with all the melting that we have going on, and some water flowing and ice dams and all that happy horse shit. So
yeah,
I figured it's a good time to get you on here and help some people out with that.
Yeah, we have bipolar weather in upstate New York that has a lot of devastating effects on the home. I've had recently a lot of ice and water damage, frozen pipes, hot water tanks. I mean, you get that stuff. You know, that's the traditional phone calls you're going to get, say, November. Well, here, almost March.
Right.
Yeah. Last year, March, we had epic snowstorms.
Oh, my God, 3 feet of snow.
Yeah.
What, a day? 12 hours or some ridiculousness?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually, I mean, nobody's immune. I had a ice dam on my sun porch. And, you know,
I mean,
little drip, drip, drip. And I'm like, oh, shit. You know exactly what it is. And
well, I've had homeowners that are friends of mine call me up and say, look, you know, I have this, it looks to be a hole above my garage in the foundation. And I'll get to the house and see that there was a bird's nest in there. And I'm like, look, this is something that obviously you ignored for a while. This is not something you just noticed. There's bird's nests in here. And, you know, there's quite a bit of, you know, rotting and damage, you know, below the siding. The OSB, everything was destroyed. So, I mean, neglect, that's, you know, you can't ignore the telltale signs of, you know, when you start seeing stuff, especially on the exterior, dilapidated, it's going to lead to issues on the inside as well.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, it's all tied in. It really is.
Absolutely. And I think so many people, you just turn a blind eye. You don't notice things after a while. You know, like you'll walk in, and I always tell people that when they're buying a house, You know, if you walk in and there's a drop ceiling and you really, really hate it, buy the house, live with it for a year, because you're probably not going to notice it after that year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and with the swirled ceilings, if they don't like the glitter or whatnot, you know,
Sure.
it's one of those things where I think you stop noticing certain things. So you really do need to walk through your house with maybe a contractor's eye or an actual contractor every so often. You know, have you done many of those well house checkups?
A ton of them. I mean, the most important message I give to the layman or somebody that's going to use me, or I'm referring somebody else, because there's certain aspects of contracting that I don't do. I don't do roofing.
Right.
So with stuff like that, if I'm given a reference, the most important thing you got to tell somebody, first of all, is you got to know your contractor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you have to be comfortable with who you're using. You got to develop a rapport with them. You know, those things are, you know, they're really, really important, because, you know, having that sort of relationship is the same thing with you in realty, I would imagine. You know, having that rapport with your clients is it's important. You know,
well, you need
you're
somebody
putting your own passion into it. You know, you're selling yourself along with your business.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's important.
And you have to trust. You have to trust, because without trust, you're not going to listen when you really need to.
Yeah, as a contractor, I mean, I've never I've been in the game for a long time.
Yeah.
And I have fellow contractors, good friends of mine. Some of them get frustrated when the whole getting 3 proposals things comes up. I always encourage that, because that is a way that a person not only could be comfortable and content with who they're using,
Right.
but they also know when you're giving them a deal and you're trying to help them out and you're being genuine. So those things are all important. And another thing I try to express to potential clients is it doesn't necessarily, like, if somebody's getting the lowest price, that this is something that I try to explain to them. I know budget constraints are a huge deal, and I know that it makes all the difference in the world. You know, none of us are filthy rich. I get it.
Right.
But quality of work, you know, I've seen so many stories of people paying triple in the end.
Yeah, because they have to have it, first
Right.
of all, taken out when it's done incorrectly
Mhm.
and then redone. You
Right.
know, so you're paying to have it done incorrectly, taken out, and then redone. Yeah, I've seen some nightmares. But
Right.
I agree with you completely. I always welcome competition, too, because that's how you
have to.
showcase how you stand above. And,
You have to.
know, and yeah, you might not always come in as the lowest price or the highest estimate, in my case, maybe.
Sure.
But you come in with your best, you know, and I think that does show.
Well, I'll tell you what. The other, you know, this is all a learning experience. We're all a work in progress, and I've learned certain things over years and years and years. I'm third generation, so my grandfather and father used to give me advice when I first opened my business. I was, you have all those natural feelings being a contractor when you're trying to be competitive and you're trying to get work and you're trying to feed your family. You might start lowering your prices, and that's one thing to give a deal, but it's another thing to settle for a percentage, you know, 20% less of what a job is worth.
Right.
You're not going to make any money. And that's
Right.
not beneficial to yourself or the person you're working for, because you might not put as much love and care into the job.
Your heart isn't there.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, it might sound harsh what I'm saying, but it's the truth. You know, people are going to resonate. It's going to resonate with them because it really is the truth. And I tell my potential clients, first of all, I'm always going to try to help them out. They're always welcome. I've had people call me that are, you know, just bought a home. I'd let them, even if they don't use me, they go use my discount. At, you know, my distributors for paint and sheetrock and certain things. It's not all about that. I try to give back as much as possible,
Right.
but I definitely articulate to them that, you know, it's not always about saving that extra $500. Sometimes that extra $500 is going to mean all the difference.
Right. It
get it
gives
done
you a
once.
quality job.
Right. You get it done once, and, you know, I had my mother years back. She had her basement flooded in North Utica when they had all of that water damage 3, 4, 5 years ago,
Yeah, I
whatever
remember
it was.
that well.
Yeah, and, you know, my mother not being, you know, she's pretty laid back, but, you know, she's not used to the whole contract and gig, and, you know, that's what her son is for. And when I priced everything out,
Right.
and she was like, "Oh, thank God that the insurance is paying for this, because I never realized how much, this damage would
Right.
cost." And I said, "Look, I mean, we're in a day and age now where materials just keep rising.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just a given in the industry. So,
Right.
you
Well,
know,
that's why building is still not picking up as much around here, is because our housing inventory price per square footage is so low
Right.
relatively to, what it costs to build with the materials. Yeah, people
Right.
really don't understand the materials, like a good gallon of paint.
Yeah,
And there is a difference.
no, there's a
paint
huge
is
difference.
one of those things you get what you pay for.
Yeah, right. And I'm glad that you touched base with that, because I obviously, when you're hired by somebody as a contractor, you have these discussions right away. And whatever materials you're going to use, 98% of the time, that is at the customer's discretion.
Right.
In my case, I am lucky. 98% of my client base, it's the opposite. They give me carte blanche, and they just say, "Look, I trust you," and I use a split down the middle. I've used Benjamin Moore products,
Right.
which I love, and
Yep.
I give business to Sherwin-Williams as well. I have rapport with both places, so I like to give them
mix
my
it up a
business.
little
But
bit.
my personal preference, and I'm not afraid to say it, I'm a Benjamin Moore guy. I always have been.
That's my favorite paint as
And
well.
and it's all the difference. I've worked for people, and I'm not trying to impugn anybody's taste, but some people will tell me to go get Olympic paint from Walmart, and and don't
Go get the Dutch boy.
Yeah, I mean,
you
it's-
just want to jump out a window. Like,
Well, I mean,
okay, I'll spend
it's-
6 days
it's-
here putting 5 coats on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's difficult to understand, to articulate to people this right here. Say somebody wants to use a blue or an orange, and they want to use Olympic paint. It's going to take me 4 and 5 coats, and it's going to cost them more in buying gallon after gallon, as opposed to me buying Regal Select,
Right.
and they see the price of the Regal Select is 50, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's so expensive."
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but if
you're
you buy 2 gallons of it, you're going to paint the room.
Exactly. You're
As
done.
opposed to 4, and you're spending 200 on
well,
the other.
and then, I mean, just the quality of the paint. Let's talk about cleanup. Because you've got kids, you've got animals. You put 4 coats of paint on something that paint's thick, it's going to scratch, it's going to chip, it's going to flake off. It gets too thick.
Oh, there's
Everything
everything is all
but
in a
you want to be
formulas.
able to wipe fingerprints off. Go try that with Olympic or Dutch boy.
Yeah, but that's a sheen thing as well.
Right,
That's another thing
right,
that I have
true.
to explain to
Yep.
clients is I never encourage anybody, and you deal with a lot of new construction and obviously older
Yep.
houses.
Yep.
Older houses, my area. I'm in South Utica now.
Yep.
Traditionally in South Utica, in East Utica homes that are from the 1900s, over 100 years old, some of them, you're going to deal with plaster and lath.
Yep.
So if you're doing some restoring and doing restoration work, which that's my mainstay, you would use a flat or a matte, or eggshells. Right now they're pretty good as well, because they don't have a heavy sheen to them.
Yep.
But a lot of people make the mistake of using glosses and semi-glosses
Yep.
on walls that is going to show it's like putting a mirror
Yeah.
to yourself when you're a teenager, and
Yeah.
you
The
know, and
imperfections just
that exactly.
the light shines off
Yeah,
of
and
the
obvious-
imperfections and makes them more prominent.
Exactly. So when you're using a flat or a matte, it's going to
Yep.
mask all the imperfections. It's going to diminish the fact that you're hiding all the blemishes.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, new construction, you could get away with that using a gloss, and I wouldn't even suggest that in new construction. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
I'm a flat on the ceilings guy, unless it's a bathroom.
Yeah.
In bathrooms, I don't mind going with
Yeah, a little
a
something
semi-
more
a
like
satin.
a satin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, satin.
Satin is usually my favorite.
Yeah, that's what I
like
do in
I like a
bathrooms.
nice satin in the bathroom.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
It's
that's just
soft.
because of condensation, and
Yeah. But you still get a little reflection for the light, for the makeup, and whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
agree.
suggest that stuff. But it's important to know that know what you're using, your materials. Always know what you're using as well.
Yeah.
And things are. We're in an innovative state now, even with materials. I mean, I use Hardy Backer,
Yeah.
but there's different things coming out. For your tile floors. I mean, this happens every single day.
Oh yeah.
Things are changing.
Well, you've got you used to be copper and PVC, and now you've got the PEX, and
Well, yeah.
yeah, so everything, it really does change.
Yeah, I mean, but that's why I try to keep. It's important. I mean, even we have so much at our disposal now. I suggest to anybody, if you have time at night, if you're listening to a podcast like this, check out the podcast, check out HGTV, check out. Go and do research on your own. Check out Pinterest. Go on YouTube and
DIYNut.com.
I'm telling you, there's tutorials for everything.
Oh yeah,
you could literally check out everything. So
you can rebuild a car.
Yeah,
I mean, really, all you need is YouTube and a screwdriver.
I'm telling you. I mean, that's a double-edged sword because, everybody after when they start watching.
Know
these
your
things,
limits, though. Yeah, really, really know your limits because I actually got into quite a few. We bought our house young. I mean, I was 21 years old, buying a house, pregnant with my second kid.
And that's a major purchase.
Yeah, I mean, we were like, so my dining room, of course, we had the plaster and lath. So my brilliance, I thought I was going to paint it persimmon.
Mm-hmm.
And then that wasn't just bright enough, so I did a metallic glaze over the persimmon
that
on
was
plaster
popular,
and
yeah.
lath.
Yeah, that was popular back in those days.
Holy Christ, it looked like my walls had acne. It was awful.
Yep.
It was just terrible. It was so and I was like, well, shit, that didn't work out so well. The color was great.
Yeah, I mean,
but it looked like crap because the finish was completely wrong.
And
it ruined it.
Those are the simple things. I did a home in Sequoia not too long ago where I went from room to room because they wanted to maintain as much of the colonial aspect of the home as possible.
Yeah.
So obviously, this as a realtor, you don't want to compromise that by. There was so much beautiful old traditional woodwork in there with the original stain. And that would happen to be pristine. So you don't want to go and knock down the plaster and lath and put up sheetrock. It's going to compromise all that.
It is.
So we did a lot of floating out the walls and
smoothing them out.
Yeah, and it's very tedious
but it's so worth it. It really is.
It is. But you really have to gauge. You have to have these conversations with your clients,
right?
Because if you don't, and this is not to like I said, impugn anybody, but when they're not in the field, they might not understand that when you're doing work like that it's an arduous task. It's tedious and it's going to take a long time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're talking when you're going from room to room and you're floating out each wall in the room.
Yeah,
and you're
to skim coat everything and get it flat and smooth.
You're talking months.
Yeah, it's a talent. I really will tell you, it's a talent.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of guys in this area that don't get their due for what they do. For years, I was subcontracted. Business owners like myself, small business owners, we got subcontracted through a bigger contractor and worked up at the casino in a tower for years. Annually, we did it each year.
Yep.
And we would go back, and I saw so many talented guys.
Oh, there really is a lot of talent.
I mean, that did they were doing the ceilings on stilts, and I mean, the guys with the plaster work, absolutely incredible. The way they just, it's so expedient. They're coming in, swirling out ceilings, and I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah, and they're in
Absolutely
and out of there
amazing.
like nothing's going on, walking around on stilts and.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the turnover it's very fast. And when you're working, especially for the casino.
Well, yeah, you need to be fast.
Yeah.
Time is money.
The first year, I mean, it's a learning experience because you go up there and, you're always confident when you get into jobs like that and you think you could keep up. And then you're working with gentlemen that are, 20 years your senior.
Right.
And you think that you're energetic and you see these guys and they're masterful is the only words that I could use.
Yeah.
They're masterful. They run circles around guys my age.
They don't even think about it anymore.
But I'm going to tell you something right now. They really do run circles around us younger guys. Their knowledge, their energy, everything. The utmost respect you got to show to them. And I was lucky enough. In this industry, in Utica, I've worked, with the best of the best.
And that's awesome because you pick up so much, don't you? I mean,
you do.
I mean, I just know even we have a friend who's a contractor, and when we bought our house, he helped us with a lot of projects, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
And just watching him, I picked up so much.
It's amazing. I got to work with
the things you guys can figure out just blow me away.
Even as a business owner, it's important to have a great team.
Oh yeah,
with you as well. I mean, I have great partners and supervisors and guys that work with me and alongside of me. I'm learning things from them daily.
Well, I met one of your younger guys
at a listing. Dan Carpenter, another realtor, had a listing over in Westmoreland,
Yep.
and you were painting it. And thank you so much for letting me intrude on your painting.
No,
because
that
I
was
had
our
a buyer
pleasure.
who really was like
it was
on
a pleasure
time
to see you
crunch.
that day. I was
yeah,
pleasantly
it was good
surprised.
to see you. My buyer was surprised. I walk in, I just give the contractor a hug. That's okay. Yeah, I'm friendly.
Yeah, and you know, the irony was I was obviously sitting down with the homeowner those 2 days prior to you getting there.
Right.
And he was boasting about how wonderful his realtor was, and it didn't occur to me to ask.
Yeah.
Just never occurred to me to ask, and I'm in the bathroom painting away, and I hear your voice, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know her. And, you know, the rest is history.
Yeah, you did a great job on that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, because that was like, I showed it like a week before that as well. You know, right before you went in to paint it. And the paint was all chipped, and it just looked so dirty and dated. And paint will make a huge difference.
A huge difference.
And I mean, cost effective. Very cost effective.
One of the things I tell, because I work for a ton of sellers and buyers.
Right.
And one of the main things I tell sellers, because I get a lot of them, is listen to your realtor. They know what the problem areas are going to be. This is what they do. And it's on a daily basis. These are conversations they have back and forth every day. Just like I say, trust your contractor, trust your realtor. Yeah. Because when they walk into your home and they see a dated kitchen, they see a dated bathroom, dated bathrooms being the biggest one. Yeah. When people see dated bathrooms, and they walk into homes, dated bathrooms are the thing. Because
how are you going to shower? How are you going to go to the bathroom?
But that gives buyers trepidation.
It does.
It does because they think about, okay.
And they're expensive.
Exactly. That's my point. This is a major purchase. Some of them are just starting families. And then they think about, on top of this mortgage and major purchase, we have to do this.
Now I have, yeah.
So
now a major
couple
project.
things that I try to tell the sellers are, you don't necessarily have to, there's so many things that are cost effective. With budget constraints, you could still have a beautiful bathroom, and you could still add equity to your home, and you're gonna get the return on your investment. You're gonna see the extra from you putting care into it, and you know, it's hard though as a contractor to try to explain that you need the realtor to do that.
You do,
because as a contractor,
like
they tend to think, you know,
we have to team up sometimes.
Sure.
If we're having a hard time having
Absolutely.
somebody see some. I have a very, very close friend. I mean, we've gone on vacation together. We've spent a lot of time together, and we're just best friends. And I had his house listed, and I kept telling him, Mel, $5,000. Just give me $5,000, and we're talking a $200,000 plus house. So I mean, you're talking some significant money here. I said, just give me $5,000. I will completely redo your kitchen. You won't even recognize it. Right. Now he had the brown and yellow swirly linoleum, the Brady Bunch orange countertops. You know those bad boys. Oh yeah, they're honeys. Yep. And it was just so dated. The lighting was dated. The little white knobs on the cabinets, but they had beautiful wood cabinets. Right. So I said, just give me $5,000. So finally, after about 4 months into the listing, I talk him into giving me the money. So all right, I'm going. So I invested most of it in the floor because, you know, the floor has got to be nice. So I did a nice 18-inch travertine tile that I found on clearance. Had enough to do the kitchen, hallway. So, and this was no little space. This was a really big kitchen. We ended up painting the countertops because I spent too much on them.
Cost effective.
But I had to do and it cleaned it right up. So we did a nice simple gray, added a pop of color with the backsplash, a little glass backsplash, changed out the white knobs for stainless steel, and put in a new track lighting where the old fixture was.
And that's everything, too.
I didn't even finish the remodel. The first kid that walked in the place bought it.
Right. I mean,
because he loved the kitchen.
Yeah, it means everything.
And that just kept being our feedback was the kitchen.
Think
and
about
you
this.
don't have to put that much into it.
Right. And that's
hardware sometimes.
All the difference. Paint.
Paint is huge.
Yeah, but like you said, flooring. I mean, if you walk into, and I do work with yourself, and I have with realtors for a long time. Yeah. And that having the focal points of the home. I mean, if you go in and people see a beautiful kitchen, they see a beautiful bathroom, then they have the vision of knowing that they could tackle the rest a little bit at a time. Right. And, you know, and that's encouraging for a buyer. Mm-hmm. And, you know, those are the things I'd like to have what I call little sit downs because I'm a guinea. So I like to.
They're always sit downs.
Yeah, I have little sit downs with potential clients, and I let them know that there's certain things that you have to take care of before the others.
Oh, absolutely.
People that are buying new homes, I mean, they give me a call, and they have one of the things that I'm known for is customers come to me about color schemes. Picking out their materials for them.
I like to say you're half a homo.
Yeah, I know you guys.
You have a queer eye for the straight guy.
Yeah, you guys tease me about it, but
you do though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up. I'd like to say a fashionable guy. I was always paying attention to the fashion industry.
I've seen your red leather jacket.
Yeah, I mean, appearance is important to me, and
you do always look good.
Yeah, and I keep up with the ins and outs in fashion and even with materials and decor, it's the important thing to know is that it's all regurgitated.
Right.
The 60s stuff is coming back in now, and people are like, "Wait a minute, I would have never got rid of my stuff."
I know.
But it's just that's what happens in the fashion industry too. I mean, it circulates, and it keeps coming.
The bell bottoms come back around.
They're coming back in now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something that recycles, and it's a beautiful thing. Let's just hope that the pistachio green refrigerators.
Yeah, the avocado and the
yeah,
maize.
Yeah, could you imagine? I went into a home recently where one of the bathrooms, the toilet was blue. The tub
I see it all the time.
The tub was blue. The sink is blue.
Yeah.
And people and when people ask me about this, they say, "Tommy, look, I know that you do the restoration aspects. What do I do with this?" I'm like, you got to gut this one.
Yeah,
I mean, these ones. Look, if this was, anything else, I mean, the colored appliances in the toilets and stuff like that. I mean, it's just
it doesn't fly anymore.
If you could live with it, that's fine.
Maybe you can get away with glazing the tub, but the toilet and the sink just because they always ship
you have
stuff,
to do. Those are jobs you have to do.
Yeah, you know what? I actually saw a maize-colored Montgomery Ward's water heater not that long ago, and it's still going. Because they don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't.
I mean, it's like crazy.
I walk into homes where I've gone on, assisted, inspections, for foundations, different things, and I've seen octopus heating systems.
Oh yeah,
and I mean these things are still effective and.
Gravity fed.
Yeah, and
people are afraid of them though.
I understand that. I get it, but I mean, that old adage that things are not made like our grandparents made them is true.
Oh, it's so true.
It really is true.
It's so true.
Paint obviously has gone light years ahead of what they projected it to be, but some of the things from yesterday, products, and some of our painters out there and some of our listeners that do home improvements themselves are going to recognize some of the products that I'm going to mention. But Benjamin Moore used to have a trim paint, oil-based. It was called Impervo. And I used to use this for doors and trim work.
Yep, we used it at the shop.
Yeah, and when I lived downstate and did work in New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut for almost the better part of 6 years, and that product I just used for years and years and years. And when I tell you, finishing a door with oil-based paint back in those days, you could see your reflection if it was painted the right way.
Yeah, it was a mirror.
Oh yeah, and those products were impeccable. And because of the low VOC and going green, the formulas change, and they don't use that stuff anymore. I think it's Impervo is stuff that is just still, if they have any left on the shelves, but they don't make it anymore. No. And a lot of the oil-based products are just used for, like you see the parks in Utica.
Right. Yeah, commercial applications.
Swing sets, keeping your parks revitalized and, outdoor stuff.
Well, we see that with the bodywork industry, too. My husband owns a body shop and works at Steet, and they're all going water-based.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so you went back from the lead-based paint back in the 70s, which those cars still have a lot of their original finishes because it was lead-based paint.
Absolutely.
To now, I mean, it's water-based paint, and when we first started using it, you look at it and you're like, wait, water? And you paint it on and you're hosing it. I don't know, but it's just amazing. You would never think this shit existed.
Yeah, I mean, there's wonderful products out there now. I have basically used them all at this point. I mean, there's some that I suggest and some that I don't care for, and that's
Right.
always personal preference because you're going to get, people that prefer certain products
Right.
and have good experiences, and some people that don't. All painters use different brushes.
Oh yeah.
Tile guys use mastic or thin set, whatever they're comfortable with. It's
Well, we all have our own systems.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
our own
and none
comfort.
of them are bad.
No.
I mean,
It's
if
just
you,
whatever works.
Right. I see contractors every day, and I work along with contractors. And just because I'm a contractor myself doesn't mean that I wouldn't suggest the close friends that I have in the industry. There's brilliant guys out there
Right.
that, I mean, put their blood, sweat, and tears and passion into their work, and they really do. I mean, it shows.
Right.
There's brilliant guys out there. And I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of them. And
Always brings you to the next level, doesn't it?
it does.
When
I
you're
mean,
working aside somebody who's at your level or even a little bit above, it kind of raises your game.
well, you have to. When you're
Yeah.
working with guys like, Carmen Zamilio and
Yeah.
Terry Daniels and Sal Alberico and, Mike DeRosa and,
Yeah, all the top names.
yeah, I mean, Mike DeLuisa, God rest his soul. I mean, these guys were impeccable, the best of the best. And I learned so much from these guys. And, I've done it all as far as, for a guy my age, this is not me patting on myself on the shoulder, but I really have done it all. I mean, I've been around.
Well, you started contracting young, too.
I mean, yeah.
Because you were in it with your father and your grandfather.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you
very
were
young.
probably carrying a hammer at 3.
A very, very young guy started out.
Having meetings and sit-downs.
Well, I mean, my father, he was a painter. He did tiling. My grandfather was a mason, a carpenter.
Oh, wow.
He helped build Munson Williams Proctor Institute. I mean,
You're Sicilian, so
yeah,
naturally you would have been a stone.
Yeah, brilliant tradesman. I remember being young. My father wanted to teach me the ins and outs of paper hanging, and that was one of the things. To this day, I don't do it. I know brilliant paper hangers, and I never got into it. And my own biological father, he is a brilliant paper hanger. I never had any interest. I saw how tedious it was.
Very.
And time-consuming, and I just I had a passion for the painting and the sheetrocking. I mean, when I come in and do patchwork and I do floating out walls and do restoration jobs, people are like, you really enjoy floating out walls and doing sheetrock? The mudding is my favorite. I mean, look, nobody wants to do the sanding.
No.
Nobody does. But I love doing finish work.
Right.
I love doing finish work, and to sit back and be able to see the results of the before and afters. I mean, I have my own album in my phone just dedicated to the before and afters.
Right.
And that's for your own, not only your client base, but it's important to obviously have a portfolio, but to look back upon.
Yeah.
You look back and you
Yeah.
say, wow, I remember that from 7, 8, 9 years ago. That was a project you didn't think was going to get done or going to be as effective as it was.
Yeah. Well, I have that Brady Bunch kitchen. There's an album on my phone, before and after, because when somebody wants to argue with me, I pull it out. I'm like, argue with me. This is what happened with
I'll
my
tell you where I've learned the most from is, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on home free, I know a lot of people that in the industry, and I've learned so much from working with realtors.
Oh, yeah.
That's been an important transitional phase and a growing experience for me as a businessman, because I'm not the type of guy to ever, we've talked about this personally,
Right.
I never ever make excuses for something that the onus would be on me,
Right.
or a mistake that I make. I mean, again, we're all work in progress. In this business, you're never ever going to satisfy everybody 100% of the time.
No.
It's impossible.
Anything, you can never make everybody happy.
You can't do it. But the most important thing is, I've learned, from home after home, restoration after restoration after restoration, working with realtors, I've learned, so many different things about buying, selling, the ins and outs, what's important, the focal points of a home. I did some South Utica homes where I walked in, and the particular realtor that I happened to be working with, he just looked at a fireplace and seen this room and said, okay, let's take care of the hardwood floors. What do you think about this paint? And we sat down and we were like, okay, I think these color schemes will work well. And again, first 2 or 3 people that walk in, boom, the house is gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely gone.
Because it's ready.
Right, gone.
It's ready.
And
nobody wants to move into a house to do work. Well, I mean, there are those few people. The majority of people don't want to go move in and have to do every room.
No,
they'll paint a bedroom.
Sure. I have to agree with you there. Most people want that that feeling of being content when they come in and knowing that they spent their money and there's not a lot for them to do.
Right.
There is that percentage of people, obviously, because I work with them as well and have experience with them as well. A lot of people come in and they're in it to do the flips.
Right, and they want to make the house their own.
Right.
They know that ugly is money.
Yeah.
And they can save a lot of money. Right. Definitely if they do, a little bit of carpet removal to expose the hardwood floors, which the seller should have done, and it would have gotten them the money. But, so many of them don't.
Well, I mean, it's important, like I said, to have an open dialogue with your clients and in both of our fields, and have that rapport with them. I have a client that I'm with right now that's a friend of mine, and unfortunately, her father's debilitated. I started to tell you this before. Her father's debilitated. She's a wonderful, wonderful person, and so was her father. He's a vet, and there's a lot because he used to do everything himself.
Right.
He's one of those guys. I mean, he could do anything.
And when you're that kind of guy, it's
and
hard
he's debilitated.
It's hard to hand that over.
And she is, she is a mommy and was working, and now she's taking care of her father. So, she's not a contractor. So, the burden of just what she's going through is enough on its own. But years of neglect through no fault of their own, they're dealing with illness and they're dealing with tragedy,
which happens too often.
Exactly, and a lot of things were neglected in the house, and unfortunately, we're in a position now where, we're doing work periodically because, again, it's people work with budget constraints, and we help them out as much as possible. But unfortunately, like we were, touching base on earlier, if you have a leak in a roof, it's going to affect your ceilings. It might affect your walls. It could create mold. It could affect your wiring.
That one little drip is going to create so much havoc.
And water will find its way throughout everywhere.
Nothing holds it back.
Yeah, it's a SOB. It really is.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so unfortunately, in this particular home, things did snowball. And again, I'm lucky enough to have great clients, and they have faith in me and trust my word and the work, and we've come up with different ideas to save money, and
they're letting you prioritize, which I think is sometimes something that people really don't want to give up, is the choice on what they do first.
Right.
And you really need to do the right things first.
Well, I mean, that's a conversation that we're having literally this month. We took care of some water damage on the outside that would cause residual damage on the inside.
Yeah. Well, so why fix the inside if the water is going to come in again?
But my buddy didn't tell me about the residual damage that happened to be in certain areas in the house. She told me after we did one repair. So when I saw that the water damage was isolated to one area in the home that she didn't show me, that obviously showed me that there was more than one area on the outside.
Right, which meant you could have approached it differently.
I could have, but it was a blessing because, it pointed out to me that there was more than one area that happened to be problematic. So we had to do a little bit of, diagnosis, but we ended up finding, where it is. And I mean, look, nobody including myself. People might think that I'm being disingenuous right now, but I'm not. Not even a contractor. You feel for the people that you work for.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't want to see people constantly spending money.
Yeah.
But I also have a responsibility to tell them that if you don't take care of this mold issue, it's going to be very detrimental. If you don't take care of this water damage, the residuals on the inside, I mean, there was closets and bedroom walls affected now, and those walls have to be torn down because I could see the starting of the mold, and
Right, and you have to get rid of it.
I went through all those courses. I'm OSHA 10 certified, and I mold certified and lead certified. I got those qualifications, and I took that time to do that years ago. And those are important conversations to have, because when you start seeing that, she happened to say to me, this particular client of mine, that she was getting bronchitis repeatedly.
Well, yeah, so that tells you right there
and-
there's
but-
an issue.
But at first,
And it really does have serious health consequences.
it does, and I mean, and it was having those kind of devastating effects on not only her father that's debilitated, he's already
Right.
on oxygen,
Right.
but now it's affecting her daughter and her. I mean, they're repeatedly getting sick. So I finally told her, I said, look, I don't care if it's me. It doesn't have to be me. You could, if you want to split up the
Anybody.
work and use somebody else as well, do that. But it has to get done, because it's becoming a health issue now.
Yeah, that has to be priority number one.
So, and again, I have wonderful clients, and sometimes you have to take care of things in stages, because obviously you could do what you could afford,
Right.
and
Right.
some people are blessed where they could just do things in one shot, and some people have to tackle a little bit
Make
at
a
a time.
plan.
Yeah, but there is always ways, like you were saying, to work with a budget. This is one of the things that I enjoy the most about sitting down with people like yourself and the potential client, to let them know if you want to do one of the things that we specialize in, my business and my partners. We specialize in kitchen, bathroom, and basement remodels, interior and exterior paint. New construction, framing. I put
Yep.
additions on houses. I happened to put the summer before, this summer, I put up an addition for my 5th grade teacher.
Oh, how awesome is that?
Yeah, it was one of the best experiences that I ever had. One of my teachers from Wetmore School,
Oh, I love that.
and I bumped into her in a grocery store, and she said, "Young man," and this was by chance. She just said, "Young man."
And did you stiffen right up?
I
Oh,
did,
I'm
because I
being good.
always loved this woman, because she was such an integral part of, me being. I was kind of a wild guy when I was
she was one
younger.
of those teachers that reached you.
Yeah, she did, because
Yeah.
she was a no-nonsense type of teacher. So I always had the utmost respect for her, and seeing her, it was wonderful. And then she said, "Well, what are you doing with yourself nowadays?" And I explained to her what I was doing, and she said, "Really, my husband just passed, and I always wanted, and our dream was to take our back deck and make that a room for our grandchildren." So she said, "Will you come over and give me a quote?" And so I did, and she was like, I don't, for her, obviously in retirement, and her husband had retired, and they did well and worked very hard their entire lives, and she wanted what she wanted, and it was a wonderful thing to see. She's, a strong...
And she could afford it.
Yeah,
And
and-
so, see, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
she was very happy and assertive and, vibrant, and wanted this flooring, and she had a vision and gave me that vision and said, "Run with it." So I said, my taste might be a little bit more modern than yourself, and she said, No, I want you to,
That's what she wanted.
yeah, she
wanted
said, "I
that
want you
input.
to, I want you to, you got carte blanche. I want you to,
She
put your
wanted that queer eye for the straight guy.
She did. She wanted me to put a spin on it, and I am, as you could see in the studio, I use a lot of earth tones.
Yep.
I like to use a lot of cool grays,
Mhm.
and
You like to mix it up a little, too.
I do. And she was wonderful, and we had a successful business relationship, and she still calls me to check up on me, and I call to check up on her, and that's the most important thing to me. A lot of clients that I have, I become friends with them,
Yeah.
and that's important to me, and honesty. loyalty, those are things I got tattooed on myself. So
Right.
those are important things to me. And again, I'm not perfect. I'm flawed like anybody else. You're going to have ups and downs and trials and tribulations in your personal life and your business life. But the important thing is, you got to learn from each and every one of those lessons in life. And again, I've learned from my own. I had, you go through employees, some people go through different companies.
Right.
When they're, in transitional phases, or they're trying to figure out exactly what they want to do. Again, we're all work in progress. And for
those
me,
things change.
of course they do. You get it, the more you get into what you're doing, you have different aspirations. I personally have different aspirations now. I love what I'm doing, but I want to get more into flips and in the real estate.
I could see you doing that.
I would. That's been my.
You'd be perfect for it.
I love it. I really do. And again,
You've got the skill set. You've got the eye.
I'll tell you what. For the things that I lack, I have so many developed relationships.
Right.
That somebody is always there with me. So if I happen to, I had a person say to me 3-4 years ago, a client said she was in love with Venetian plaster. And she said, I know you can do everything when it comes to that. Come do Venetian plaster for me. And I said, I don't know how. I really don't. That's
a skill.
That's a skill. That's, a trade from yesterday. And, but I said, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get it done.
I got a guy.
Yeah, of course I do. I always got a guy. Trust that Sicilian shit. I always have a guy.
You guys always got 2 or 3 guys.
That's it. So, I made a phone call.
Yeah.
And went to this beautiful house in South Utica, and she got just what she wanted from.
I love that.
A good friend of mine, Sale Piazza, and he did a beautiful, beautiful job. And Louis Piazza, excuse me. And she was completely happy with it. I mean, so there's so many different aspects to.
Well, I know I called you, a week ago or so for an electrician. I was like, hey, you don't do electrical, do you? And you were like, yeah, I'd rather stay away from that. So you recommended somebody, and that was great. So, yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's
you always come through.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. There's certain things I never wanted to get involved in. I mentioned the paper hanging. Right. And there's things that I kick myself in the ass right now that I didn't get involved in because I see what electricians make.
Right.
I see what plumbers make. That these are guys that, and look, they're wonderful at what they do.
Right.
But their field demands. I mean, they could go in a job and they charge by the job, and some people are like, oh my God, what did I just pay? But these guys are worth every penny.
Yeah. Well, you go ahead and play with 220.
Well, that's the
sure
thing for me.
I mean,
I have right. I have guys that are licensed, that are brilliant, that I trust, that I've seen their work. I mean, I've worked with them for the city of Utica, so I know their work.
Right.
I mean, these are guys that are licensed. I worked with them when I worked for the fire department for years on the lineman's department. I know these guys. I know their work.
Well, I know you well enough to know that if these guys aren't top notch, they're not coming out of
I
your
wouldn't
mouth.
even.
You wouldn't.
I wouldn't even refer them. I mean, again,
and I'm the same. You
I work
can't.
with
It
guys.
affects your reputation.
It really does. I mean, I have. Again, I've worked with these gentlemen for years and years and years, and they have, some of the most successful businesses in Utica.
There's a reason.
Right. I mean, I'm gonna name drop. I mean, I worked with Sam Simon for years, and he's got ABC Systems, the alarm company, and I mean, his work is impeccable.
Yeah.
And Bobby worked with us. He's an electrician, and he worked with us for years and years and years. And he's licensed and does electrical work. So I mean, it's these guys are amazing. And top craftsmen in their field.
Oh yeah, and when you hear a bad story every now and again of a contractor who didn't show up after taking money or something, it's like you didn't ask around. You really need to ask around. Don't just hand somebody your money. Make sure they've been in business. Make sure they're trusted. Make sure they're reputable. Get recommendations from your realtor, your friend, other contractors.
Sure.
Don't just throw.
That's like I said. Know your contractor. That's important.
It's crucial.
And the other thing that I try to, tell people, and it's not just for myself. It's because I know so many people in this field as well that are brilliant, brilliant men and women. And I say men and women. I know some brilliant women painters and you know, and they're doing wonderful things in their field, and they've taught me a lot about aesthetics and, you know, faux finishes and stuff like that. You know, the main thing I like to tell people is draw your own conclusions. You know, if you're getting recommendations, that's one thing, but, you know, you have to draw your own experiences, and then, you know, you could say to somebody, you know, don't use this person, don't use that person. Because me personally, when I've, years back when, you know, my parents needed a roof, you know, if I didn't have one of my best friends that's the best in the business in the field, you know, my parents went through, before even asking about this person and that person.
Right.
And you hear the way people immediately start telling stories about this guy and that guy. And I'm like, wow, that's so bad for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and especially if it's not true. That could hurt somebody so much.
If it's a story from somebody that
right.
somebody,
And I mean, look, I mean, there's always going to be stories out there and guys that that have had the experiences where they've robbed somebody or they've gotten in trouble, and
right.
you know, and that does unfortunately affect, you know, other contractors in a negative way. But there's a lot of guys out there that are honest, you know, and reliable,
and hardworking.
Yeah, I mean, there really is. And again, I've worked with the best of the best, and you know, I like to think that I'm a work in progress, and business is, you know, especially in this field, it's all about what you're going to put into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, of course, when I was in my 20s, when I first started out, and I was working for the city of Utica, and doing things on the side, you're not as passionate at 20 as you are at 40.
Yeah.
You know, when
you learn a lot in your 20s and 30s,
but it means more when you're in your 40s.
A job well done. Yeah, there's a certain sense of pride.
Well, I mean, now it's your livelihood. That's how you take care of your, you know, your Kardashian daughter that needs her hair and nails done all the time. I mean, you know, you got girls.
I know,
you know, so it's
not just beer money anymore.
No, you know, those are the things you get tired at the end of the night. So the beer doesn't really make a difference anymore.
Right.
And you know, we get together once in a while for our little parties here at the D, and we have fun. And then
I'm still recovering.
That's
from
what
Saturday
I'm saying.
night.
Exactly.
I'm
so
like
I mean,
sitting here like, oh.
Now it's for me. Now it's you know, quiet evenings at home, and you know, just trying to concentrate on the next phase, and developing rapport in you know, in the business world, and being able to work with people like yourself. And that's my only aspiration, is to continue to network and, you know, do work with people like yourself, because it's not about me anymore.
Right.
It's about my family. It's about my parents are retired. You know, I want to give back.
And you want to be able to do a little something for them. And
I want to give back.
Yeah,
I want to give back. I really
understand
do. You know, people, you know, that know me, they see it. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You know, they're the most important things to me right now. I want to give back to them because they always gave to me. You know, so that's, you know, those are the extra hours. You know, I had a buddy of mine. He's a contractor. He owns a roofing company. My best friend, Russell Pelly, Northeastern Roofing and Construction. He has an amazing business. I mean, he's a property owner, and you know, whatever he does, he puts his blood, sweat, and tears into it, and his passion into it. And these guys, when I tell you, if you need a roofer and you need siding and gutters, and this guy is absolutely amazing. And he's fair, and he's reasonable, and he goes above and beyond. He does so many things for so many people. And those are the examples. These are guys that I work with. You know, those are the examples that I want to follow. I mean, again, you learn from your mistakes, and you know, you just try to become a better man, a better businessman. But I've been blessed. You know, I've worked with, and I still get calls, you know, from you know, I run into Carmen Zamilio. I don't know if you know Carmen. I run into him often, and he was going back and forth from down south, and these guys always give me a big hug, and we talk about the days that we worked together. Sal, you know, El Barrico for years and years and years. He was a mentor to me. He taught me so much.
All talented guys, hardworking, ethical.
Terry,
great work ethics,
and funny. I mean, I was lucky enough to work with guys where it didn't seem like work.
Yeah,
it really didn't.
Yeah.
It never seemed like
work. And
work.
It makes a difference.
It did. And I'll tell you what, the arrogance that I had younger in the field, because I always knew, especially in the painting aspect, I always knew I was super talented. So I had a little chip on my shoulder. And I would work with these guys, and they'd be like, what you don't know could fill 100 books. And I started to learn things. And
stick around, kid.
Yeah, no, they would tell me like little things like, I know this doesn't make a difference, but one of the guys that's going to be in his 20s and 30s right now that thinks he's a painter, that acted like myself, he's going to be listening right now, and he's going to understand what I'm saying. We would go to a paneled door, and I would start out and the outside of the door and work my way in, and the guys would tell me start with the panels and work your way out, and it'll cut the time in half. And when you're doing trim, use a hot dog roller and your brush and blah blah blah. It's just little things. So
there's tricks.
Yeah, and no, I'm going to do it my way. Okay, you do it your way, and we're going to see at the end of the day who has the most amount of doors done and who was more effective.
And we're going to pay you by the door today.
In the 8-hour period. I was lucky that they didn't go that far with me.
Damn, I would have been right on that.
But they gave me the lessons that I needed early because I saw at the end of the day, wait a minute, there could be this kind of turnaround. And then now I'll go into homes like the Westmoreland home.
Right.
And these people happen to be on a time constraint, and
they only wanted you to paint half, right? If I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. And thank God. Thank God they listened to you.
Right, but I'll tell you what. I mean, they were so afraid because here's one of the things in the contracting field that's a no-no as a businessman. When a client reaches out to you, as much as you want to capitulate and tell them that you could do everything in the time frame that you wanted to. It's very dangerous to tell somebody you're working for that, yes, I could do it in 4 days, and if you can't, they're going to be very disappointed.
Right.
And so will the realtor, so will a potential buyer. So you have to be very, very safe. And
and you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Paint reaction with something that was on the wall before.
So the allotted time frame that you give them, you have to know what you're doing and know what you're saying. So in the beginning, they were asking me, can we do this? Can we do this? And I said, this is all I would say. Look, you're in great hands. Let me get in there and make my assessment and start, moving. And once I do, I promise you that once I start getting going, the first night I'll give you an assessment and I'll give you a text message and, let you know what the allotted time frame will be. And I ended up getting in there. And, the husband, he was just a nervous Nelly. He was really, really nervous, and he wasn't temperamental or anything like that. He was a complete gentleman, but he did express that he was nervous about, not me, but the time constraint.
Right.
And we got in there and we hustled, and 2 days later, he was like, I can't believe you're done with my house. And I said, well, I was able to, there's a lot of tricks of the trade. You could go in, and I picked a beautiful earth tone for them. And I use 18-inch rollers. And a lot of guys don't use 18s. I do. A lot of guys use them for commercial. I use them for residentials as well, along with 9-inch rollers.
Huge time saver.
Oh, my God. I breeze through things. And these are things I learned on my own. I breeze through things now that in my younger days, you would think it would have took me, I would have been done quicker back when I could move faster. But now it's the knowledge that I get through these jobs as quick as I do. And it's loving what you do. When I go into a home and I'm doing painting and I'm doing sheetrock, tiling, stuff like that, and going on material runs with realtors like yourself and potential buyers, I'm in love with what I do. I really am in love with it. I love every aspect of it.
Well, because I think for you, it's like a little puzzle. And I think you're that kind of puzzle guy, and you just want to get that puzzle right together perftly, all nice and snug.
I am a perfectionist.
It's got to be frameable.
I'm a perfectionist. On top of, stuff like that is self-rewarding for me. I've never been a guy. I'm a very honest guy. I've never been a guy that has a huge, healthy self-esteem. So anything, even in the business world, anything that I do that I find there's gratification in it, that helps me.
Right.
I get to look at my work at the end of the day and say, wow, you did a good job.
Yeah. I did that.
And I'll tell you what, working for a lot of the guys that I did, you didn't get that cheerleading at the end of the day, even if you did a great job.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
So what? You did a great job's work.
No, they didn't.
They didn't. Who cares?
I won't swear on your podcast. That's for back talk tomorrow. But they didn't give a about giving you the accolades. There was none of this at the end of the day. Because sometimes I would actually look to like my buddy Sal and be like, Jesus, man, I hustled today. He's like, so what? He's
You
like,
should have been doing that the past
yeah,
4
he's
days.
he's like, shut up. I don't have hair anymore. And I've been doing that for, when you were in diapers, I was doing that. So I'm like, Jesus.
I love old guys.
Yeah, I'm like, thanks for making me feel great. He's like, just finish your work and shut up.
They just kind of tell you,
Yeah, and it's important, and I'm lucky enough where, word of mouth has been my best friend.
Yeah.
I don't, other than what we all take advantage of, that post here and there on social media. And if people pay attention to my antics on social media, they'll see that I really don't. I'll throw a business ad in, once every few weeks.
Right.
I throw in there with my monotonous posts that everybody's sick of. But I don't really post a ton when it comes to my business, and I'm always busy.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I think in this community, too, you really do
we do
a lot of
listen,
word of mouth.
But we live in a wonderful
everything.
community.
We do.
We
It's
have
very
our
close-knit.
Yeah, we have our ups and downs, but I'll tell you what. Well, we rally together like no other.
Oh, yeah.
We really do. And again, I could sit there right now, being a contractor, I could give the listeners that are out there right now and everybody that's tuning in to Home Free, I could give them a list, a long list of contractors that are absolutely wonderful in this area. And I mean, you'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
People would be really taken back to know that the list is as long as it is.
But it's the 3 guys in the area that are just complete jerks that give everybody a bad name.
Yeah,
and that's what really kind of stinks.
I mean, that's in all facets in all of our businesses. But I always have, there's situations, and the gentleman that I'm speaking of, they do the same, for myself. You're going to have contractors where I have guys call me because they're so busy that they might not be able to get to some sheetrocking that they need done, and that they'll call me up and say, Tommy, what's your schedule look like for, next week?
Right.
And being a boss and having the freedom of having guys that you've met my guys, having wonderful guys on your team, I could break away and go do a project. Or I could stay on an existing job and have one of my guys, my foreman, break away and go on another job. So, the rapport that I have with other contractors is wonderful as well. There's this gross misconception that people think that all contractors are at each other's throats.
They
or
think
all
that about
realtors.
realtors,
I was
too,
just going to say the same thing. That all realtors don't work together. That that the best in the biz are in competition with each other, and they don't realize we sit down and have seminars together and tutorials together.
The best in the biz are having dinner together, having cocktails together, they're having breakfast, they're talking to each other.
Right, and I know you.
And that's why they're the best in the business, because we share information.
We've talked off air before. I know you know Jay as well.
Oh yeah, I love Jay.
Jay is he is one of the people in this area that I will tell you that I have the utmost respect for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Me too.
Him and Steven, and I'm going to tell you right now, that man did a ton for me in my life, for my family, for my daughter, just somebody that I consider a dear friend of mine. I'm not even talking about the business aspect of it.
Jay is I love Jay.
And knowledgeable. I mean, the guy is wonderful. And I met so many people through him. In Coldwell, I mean, John is amazing. I mean, there's
talk energy.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean,
it's endless.
You are literally surrounded with. John is brilliant. Jay is brilliant. You are brilliant.
But I wouldn't be if I didn't surround myself with the Jays and the Johns.
That's how I feel.
I was lucky enough to go to Coldwell Banker Faith fresh from real estate school. I mean, nobody does. You don't start at Faith. Faith is not a company you start at. But Jay came over to list my house, saw my potential, and he said, "No, you're going to start real estate, and you're coming with me." And so, I was lucky enough to have the room across from John Brown's team, and I would just sit there and listen.
Exactly.
And every day, if I walked out of that office with not even a phone call, I had 10 more lessons. Right. And 10 more skills that I knew, or 10 problems that I could deal with effectively now, because I listened and I paid attention. I kept my mouth shut and I just learned.
It's so important. It was so important. I'm so glad you said that. That was one of the most important things for me, being high-strung and
that little arrogant.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was just going to say the same thing. Being headstrong and stubborn as they come. I'm stubborn as they come. Everybody that loves me knows that. I won't even blame it on that. I got, I am as stubborn as they come, and I've been, again, it is who you're surrounded by.
It is completely.
Countless projects with Jay and his direction, and there's a man that when he has his vision, he knows what it is. He knows what the vision that he has for. He
gets on a mission.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much passion involved, and there's so much to be learned from, men and women in the field that trust their judgment. Their clients trust them. Yeah. Their reputations are speak for themselves. And those are the important lessons that I've taken the last 3-4 years into my business, and that's what's changed everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because my business has changed from 3-4 years ago. It's completely changed because
you've evolved.
Well, yeah,
so
my mentality has changed. My passion has changed. You see things different. As you evolve. And once you learn certain things, like I could go into a home now, and I have a modern vision. That's my. I would say if I was going to do like a little tutorial for people and explain to them about what are the aspects of my business that would set me aside from somebody else. I'm the design aspects of it and the interior design. That's my mainstay. I love, again, picking out colors and picking out tile and different ideas for different rooms, and maybe paper on one wall and paint on 2 other walls.
See, and I tell people that's crucial too, because you'll walk into a house and they're like, "We just had it painted. What do you think?" Mm-hmm. And you look and you're, every room's white. The molding's white, the cabinets are white, the floor's white, the carpet's white.
I see that so much.
Guess what? Buyers are going to walk out of this house, and as soon as they're on the front porch, they forgot your house because it's boring as shit.
Yeah, I mean...
You can't do it. You need... Even if it's gray, even if it's taupe, even if it's an earth tone, it's got to be some kind of color or some kind
have some sort of life to it.
Add a backsplash. Add a focal point. Some kind of something.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to be subtle, because a lot of people are, a lot of buyers are conservative.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially
you want it to appeal to the most people.
I can understand from, and it was never fun for me. That's why I'm gonna put that disclaimer up right now. I've worked with people in the past that were really, really conservative. Realtors that were really conservative. It was until that I had relationships with you and Jay and people like that were finally
a little funky.
Well, no. I mean, listen, the modern aspects of it are so important, and yourself and Jay gave me the opportunity to be like, okay, maybe we could have fun with this room and do a pinstripe in here, do some paper in the hallway, and so many different aspects that you could sit down. And I love to see a buyer's reaction, or the potential sellers,
when they walk back into the room.
I mean, we've had, there's been people in the past where you finish the house for them, and then they sit down and they have that moment where you see a little bit of tears start flowing down their eyes, and they say, "I don't want to get rid of my house now.
I've always wanted to do this."
Right. And then, but they know that the next step of their life is coming because they have that house that they're building. Or the house of their dreams that
or upsizing.
They're upgrading into a house of their dreams that they worked really, really hard to get. And, I've been through those stages myself where, you leave a house after you do a reno and you're like, damn, I don't want to leave this house. This was a fun one. I mean, and some of them are a huge pain in the what, and they take
and
a
you
little
can't
bit.
wait to get away from them.
Yeah, we've had all those experiences.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not perfect. There's been ups and downs and learning lessons and everything like that, but there's been some beautiful, beautiful jobs that I've done.
Oh yeah.
With a lot of talented people and memorable jobs that you walk away from, and sometimes you're just on a regular drive going somewhere, and you happen to drive by one of the streets. And say,
Right.
oh, I remember that
Or
one.
a house that reminds you of that house. Yeah.
So I mean, those are that was always the fun stuff for me. I mean, it's you got to love what you do.
Yeah, and so let's remind people, if you have been in your house for a while, call Tommy. He'll come over. He'll do a well house check for you.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Or hire an inspector.
Mhm.
Priceless Inspections. Our friend Josh Amodio, Quality Inspection is priceless. Josh will come over, and take a look around, see, where you might need to focus.
I always
some
suggest
work.
that to. Even when somebody calls me, I suggest
Yeah.
what you just said.
I mean,
give
it doesn't.
Josh a call.
Yeah, a couple $100. It's so worth it,
It
to
is.
save you thousands and tens of thousands
It is.
sometimes.
And then the other thing I try to articulate to people as well is if you have an idea, you want to call a contractor like myself, or many of the talented guys out there, and you want a kitchen or a bathroom or a basement remodel, don't be scared away from your vision,
Right.
Because there's so many avenues right now that you could save with flooring and still have quality products. It's about knowing the materials in your contractor and in your realtor, knowing the materials. And, I have so many great rapport and great relationships with distributors and vendors, throughout the city that I've worked with for years and years and years, that, I can help people when it comes to their tile and getting
Right.
kitchen cabinets and things like that. It's, those are, even the granite guys.
But they
like,
have to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, no, listen,
Because if somebody tells you, look, this is what I want, but maybe, I love all this, but my budget's just a little bit less. Well, you can start looking at those REM rooms for flooring.
True.
And you can do so just be honest. Don't be afraid to communicate with your contractor, your inspector, your realtor. Communication truthfully and honestly is crucial.
Yeah, I mean, again, those are the difficult conversations because, if a contractor happens to ask when they're trying to help you, what's your budget look like? Of course,
It's because you don't want to get them in trouble.
Well, not only that, I mean,
You
but
don't wanna overspend.
You could understand from the client's perspective where they're going to have trepidation, even saying to a contractor, "This is what we're working with," and because those things, certain things they want to keep to themselves.
Right.
But
money's always that taboo.
Sure, and those are the things, but those are conversations we have to have because when you're looking to be cost effective and you might have a budget constraint,
You got to know up
it's
front so that
pivotal.
you can work with them.
No, it really is
Yeah.
pivotal to have that open relationship with your contractor and be able to say, look, and it shouldn't be taboo. This is what I'm trying to. This is what I want.
It shouldn't be at all.
Right. This is what I
Because
want.
we don't care.
Right. I want to articulate to people this important message. Sit down. If you have 40 grand, I don't care if it's 10 grand, whatever the number is. These are hypotheticals, but if you have that 40 grand and you're saying, look, this is what I want for my basement. Okay? These are the numbers. It could be done. Okay? And if you're working with a contractor that's knowledgeable and you give them a vision of what your numbers are and what you want to use, they're going to be honest enough to tell you where if you have these numbers, you might not be able to use, certain tile.
Right.
And, you might not be able to use certain types of flooring or lighting. You're going to have to pick and choose.
Maybe you use something a little lesser quality
Like
now
yours.
and upgrade it later.
Exactly.
Maybe you don't do the light fixture that you really, really want, and you just throw a stock lighting up there for 2 years while you save for that statement piece you really want. And
My mother's, prime example. She wanted to do everything at once and wanted to include. They always wanted a bathroom down there, and I told her, I said, look, I mean, the budget doesn't call for it right now. And, these are things that they're thinking of doing now. But at the time, we finished the basement and did what was necessary.
Right.
And it came out gorgeous. teak tile on the flooring, and it was just amazing. And the finished product was wonderful. The guys and myself had a wonderful time helping them out. And the bathroom will come, sooner than later. But
it can be added later, and a lot of people just don't realize, do what you can now, and then later on.
A little bit of it at a time, and it's a work in progress. It really is.
Definitely is.
But know your home, know your contractor, know your realtor. It's important to have open dialogues with each and every one of us, and get to know us. And again,
actually, speaking of getting to know us, this Saturday at the Utica Elks Club, Tommy is going to be joining us. We're doing a seller seminar, the Property Sisters of the Coldwell Banker Faith. We'll have an attorney, mortgage broker, inspectors, mold remediators, Tommy, of course, home warranty vendor. So we're pretty much going to go over everything. We'll have contractors that'll have, be able to answer your questions on everything. And so come stop by Utica Elks Club this Saturday, the 3rd. Yeah, super weekend. So we're going to be there about 11 o'clock until 12:30 or so. We'll do a short little seminar. We're not going to talk your ears off and be annoying. And then each one of the vendors will just have a little table set up where you can talk to them, ask them one-on-one questions, get your answers. So thank you for joining us for that. We really do appreciate you taking your Saturday and your Monday night.
Well, no, look,
I'm tying you up this week. You got no free time anymore.
I can't thank you enough. This is, something that I'm passionate about, something, that is one of the most important things in my life, obviously. It's my livelihood. But, again, I'm in love with what I do. So, that time is time that I enjoy. And, again, like I tell all of my clients, I'm only a phone call away if they need that advice, if they need just, that little bit of extra push in deciding to do something. I had a friend of mine recently say that, she wants to do some ledger tile in her house, and she didn't have, in her own words, the balls to do one whole wall. And I said, what you keep talking about, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. She's not even she's not even using me. She just called me for that advice, and she's like, "What should I?"
She just needed that reassurance.
Exactly. And I said, what? Stop wondering about it. It's going to look beautiful. I've seen the pictures of your house. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. It's going to be. It's one wall. It's not going to break you. You work hard.
Right.
The
if
reward
you don't like
is there.
It, change it.
Yeah.
Live with it for a little while and
she's,
change it.
and she's going to do it. That's
Good.
that's what we're all here for. If you need that little bit of advice, and sometimes you need a push in the right direction, that's what we're here for. And again, it's my pleasure. I was excited to come on tonight and share the stories that we've had together and other people that we've worked with, and
Yeah, because we always end up talking about this stuff anyways. So
yeah, of course
I know
you do.
when you're
related,
passionate about it.
Right. When you're in a related field, we have wonderful conversations about this stuff because we have to live and breathe it every single day. You were helping me out.
Well, we love it. You have to love it or you're not going to do it. This kind of work.
And not stay in it. You can't.
No, you're not.
There's no longevity if you're not in love with it. There really isn't.
Because it's tough. It's tough business.
Because my own mother asked me those questions. My family asked me, aren't you tired? Of course you get tired. You get tired. But the thing is,
everybody does.
If you're in love with what you do, that gives you that extra incentive to get out of bed, and gives you that extra push, especially when you're getting old. So.
And we all are. All right, on that old note, we're going to wish you a good night.
Yeah.
And I just want to remind you that this Saturday at the Utica Elks Club, 11 o'clock until 12:30, actually all of our sponsors are going to be there. Tommy will be there. Priceless Inspections, Josh Amodi will be there. If you need a quality inspection, give my boy Josh a call, 315-525-8725. We will have the Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley with Coldwell Banker Faith. When you're dealing with real estate in the Mohawk Valley, you gotta have faith. 315-735-2222. And we'll have Bruce Daniels will be our attorney. We'll have Bonnie Lutz from Prime Lending. We'll have a home warranty vendor, and we'll just bring. You know what? This is what I want you to do. I want you to bring pictures of the ugliest room in your house and see what Tommy has ideas for you for.
I would love that.
Wouldn't that be a fun Saturday morning?
That's going to be fun for me because that's the thing.
That's
that I love doing
I
the
want
most.
a couple of you people to bring some really ugly rooms to Tommy, and I want to see him.
I'm going to enjoy that.
Yeah, I want to see this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. You know what?
I'm always up for that. I'm always up for that.
I got a room for you. I'm bringing.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right.
I'm up
Thank
for
you
that.
so much for listening.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tommy, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to our sponsors, and have a good night.
Wonderful.
This has been the Home Free Podcast with your host, Adeline Van Dyke. Interested in buying a home? Look her up online at coldwellbankers.com/Adeline Van Dyke or call 315-404-6431. Like us on Facebook at Home Free with Adeline.
Hey, it's Adeline Van Dyke from Coldwell Banker Faith Properties in Utica. I always get asked, why do I love real estate? It's very simple. I love my clients. I love every single thing about helping them find or sell their home. Making sure the home is solid and ready for sale or solid and ready for the buyer's inspection, to making sure that they're getting the best rate on their mortgage, making sure they're getting the best price on their house. You know, just everything involved in the sale is vital. My absolute favorite part of real estate is when a buyer walks into the house they're going to buy. I can feel it before they even know they're loving the house. It's just that obvious. So I'd love to experience that feeling with you. So give me a call. Adeline Van Dyke, Coldwell Banker Faith Properties, 315-404-6431. Or you can find me on Facebook or visit my website at centralnewyork.com/Adeline. Thank you, and I look forward to welcoming you home.
When it's your hard-earned money on the line that you are investing into a home, it makes sense to choose a proven professional to assist you in making one of the biggest investments you may ever make. Josh's dedication of over 20 years to the home construction industry allows him to bring knowledge and experience to your doorstep. That means you can feel confident and comfortable with his service to you. Past clients love his attention to detail and thorough written reports. By allowing Priceless Inspections to help you make a well-informed decision concerning your property, you will find that a quality inspection is priceless. Follow Priceless Inspections on Facebook or call 315-525-8725. In the Mohawk Valley, for the best real estate service, you gotta have faith. Coldwell Banker Faith Properties, 315-735-2222 or www.centralnyhomes.com.